join me with the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marty, if you do the honors.
Mary Jo Rosmanowski. Here. Mary Jo Radcliffe. Here. Tom Epps.
Here.
Troy Webb.
Here.
Nick Helsted. Ann Deemer.
Here.
Brad Dobbs.
Here. All right, has this meeting been properly noticed?
It has.
Thank you. All right, first, Shelley, we're going to open with that statement.
Sure. So I just wanted to read a statement off for any that are interested and are asking questions. There's been a significant increase in the number of people questioning about the 4th Street vandalism and next steps and what is happening. And so just wanted to share this. I said, I know that people are frustrated, they're tired, and they're overwhelmed by the work that is still in front of them to get back into 4th Street and move into their beautiful spaces and continue the great education they're providing. I also know that people want to know that individuals are being held accountable for their actions. Borrowing words from a colleague, I need to remind everyone that we are an educational institution. We're pretty confident that we know who was responsible and have cooperated with law enforcement in sharing our investigation notes and any evidence that we have collected. We are public education, and that means all students are entitled to an education. The confidentiality and laws around what education looks like for these individuals are what has driven our actions. We're not the punishers of crime. There are other entities established for that purpose. So if you'd like to see more done on the punishment side of this situation, please contact law enforcement and or the district attorney. We have rules of conduct in school that we expect students to meet, and when that doesn't happen, we have statutes and timelines that guide our decision-making around that. Please know that we have done all that we can to respond to within the restrictions and guidelines that exist. Punishment for breaking the law needs to come from appropriate agencies responsible for that type of accountability. I just wanted to share that message because there's a lot of people who are extremely frustrated for very, very, very good reason. But we don't have those answers, nor do we have the authority to create those answers. It is not ours to do. Ours is to follow the legal guidelines around what education looks like for students who step well outside of the codes of conduct that we have. And so just wanted to make that statement that we are doing all that we can within those guidelines and timelines that exist. And we are hoping that other community agencies are doing their part as well. So.
Thank you. We'll move on to 5.1, gifts and grants.
All right, so as you saw in the notes, there was quite a considerable amount of gifts and grants in here. The $3,000 from the Double Rafters Foundation. The beginning of the school year, there's a lot of people that want to help offset the cost of school supplies. Just so the board knows exactly how that typically looks, Vicki Mikulski, our school social worker, maintains a lot of those funds, and she also works through the school counselors in each one of the buildings to help kids that need supplies to have access to them. The Child Care Network has a really unique gift. If you recall, that's the group that is writing lots of grants to try to increase the amount of child care opportunities in our community. And they have, they're purchasing a mobile learning lab that they are leaning on the tech ed departments and the AIC departments and some of the early childhood teachers from each of the school districts in the county. And they're hoping to have this mobile learning lab that they can drive around to both public and private childcare providers so that they all get an opportunity for some of this hands-on learning. So I thought that was a really creative gift and excited for that. Another individual, Jeffrey Smith from Sunrise Custom Builders, has donated $1,000, and he was very clear that he wanted Red Creek to be able to use that for some kind of student experiences. So it went into the Red Creek Activity Fund, whether that be for school supplies to offset that or other fun things that happen in the year. They had that flexibility. We have talked before about the Swings for Students golf event. That was another wild success, and our own Mr. Dobbs, as well as Barb Simonis and Jordan Nortman, participated in that, and this year they raised $5,647.31. And the funds this year, in addition to some of the negative food balances, also helped to fund some of our band and choir students as they went to Florida this past spring. So divided that out a bit. The last piece is one that really took off very, very, very quickly. You saw the whole list of donors that was in your board packet. Jason Brining he works at the Co-op Credit Union. His wife is a fabulous second grade teacher for us. And he has helped to organize the youth football program along with the Lunda Community Center, and has evolved with them up to middle school level. And so our middle school students, teams have not had new jerseys in a really, really long time. And so that whole school pride piece, they were going to apply to the J.J. Watt Association, but the timing didn't work out well. And so he had a few conversations with people about that interest in applying for the J.J. Watt Foundation, and suddenly it became the Black River Falls Middle School Football Jersey Foundation, and so many generous people in our community decided to help fund that. And so perhaps you've seen some of our middle schoolers out donning those jerseys. They certainly have a sense of pride along with them. On the notes it says finally, but I do have one more to add. But Heather Holcomb, she sells Usborne books or Usborne books. Thank you. And she wanted to do a book match for the teachers at Forestry, recognizing that it is likely that insurance will eventually replace all of those books. She really wanted the kids in the classrooms to have some brand new books to start off the school year. And so she did a GoFundMe page separate from the school district on her own, and then paid for those administrative fees on GoFundMe, and matched each one of those donations. So $1,867.50 worth of books were donated to the teachers at Forest Street for in their classrooms. And this morning, Jill and I and Ken Tweinman got some fantastic news. Last week we were called by Carl Holmquist and Larry Lunda and asked if we would come over for a conversation. And today they told us that they want to partner with us in our theater project to the tune of $114,000, that the district will pay a half and they are going to pay the other half. So that means by the end of the school year, we will likely have all of the sound and all of the lighting back up to par. So that is really exciting. We had some good conversation with them about our partnership and how it's now been 6 years since we've been using the field house and that partnership. There certainly were bumps along the road as we figured out the snow removal and the cleaning, all of that stuff. But it was a really very positive meeting, and they were pleased that the district was willing to invest that in the theater, and they said they felt good about being able to match that so that the community resource can continue. There was another conversation that the theater is not being used by the community as much as it once was, the lack of falls players. We did talk about some of the community organizations that used to use the theater for their annual meetings. When COVID came, many of those went online and they haven't all come back. So we talked about maybe a little community education campaign to show them what a great resource that we have there and encourage people to start utilizing that again. So that was a complete surprise this morning. When we got there, we thought there was going to be other discussion, and they said, we're happy to partner with you on this. Nice. Yeah. So that's a great way to start a Monday morning. So I will formally bring you that one next month, but we just learned today, and so wanted to share that with you.
All right, some great news. All right, 5.2 public comment.
We need action on those.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve the gifts and grants.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now, 5.2 public comment.
We have one speaker, Heidi Jameson.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. I have one correction to make on one of the agenda items that's coming up. The petitions that were submitted for the annual meeting, they're submitted by me, but for Jackson County for Education, not me personally, and I just wanted to clarify that. And I'm very impressed with all the wonderful gifts that are coming into the district. I think it shows how much the school district is valued by the members in this community. And I hope it makes even more meaningful what I'm about to say. So I'm here tonight to clarify and dispel some of the rumors and disinformation that have been circulating in this community about this group, Jackson County for Education. I have a copy of the mission statement, and I'd like to hand it out if I could, just so you kind of understand what we're about. It's a group of individuals. Well, first I'll read the mission statement. Jackson County for Education seeks to improve educational achievement for all students by holding district leadership accountable for their roles in guiding the educational process and by encouraging parental and community awareness of and participation in the education of their children. It's a group of individuals who are tremendously concerned about the academic achievement in our district. We do support teachers and staff and have encouraged parents to be involved with their children's education. Before coming here, I reviewed the website and the past public information while the information was pointed and critical towards administration and leadership. There were no criticisms of the teachers or support staff. We're not against teachers. Support for teachers has been and is encouraged. We were not and would never be involved with the tragic vandalism that occurred at Forest Street School. To blame Jackson County for these things, Jackson County for education for staff vacancies, for difficulties in hirings, and for people leaving the district is disingenuous at best, and kind of scapegoating if you look at the definition. This organization did not manufacture or create any information. We merely shared what was going on with our student achievement with the public because most people did not know. The board and the leadership could have done the same thing. You could have asked the community for input and for help. This community has invested millions of dollars for beautiful schools. I was on the board when several of those referendums were proposed and passed. With that investment, I felt an obligation as a board member that district leadership should have a laser focus on student achievement to do what it takes to improve educational results. As a board member for 7 years, I witnessed the same approach over and over to this problem, the same criteria, the same ideology, and the same willingness to comply and align with DPI guidelines. Different approaches, information, and the ideas have not been welcomed. As predicted, as student achievement continues to suffer. Imagine how different this situation would be if district leadership could look beyond feeling attacked and try to understand and collaborate those who want improvement. We live in a small community. It's really important that we try to get along. The district claims to be inclusive, diverse, and devoted to local control. What would have happened if in the beginning, leadership had reached out to Jackson County for education, admitted that there were concerns, and asked for collaboration and discussion? Jackson County for Education has since offered to co-sponsor a workshop for parents to help them understand how to use Canvas. That's a big complaint we learn and hear about from parents a lot, is they can't get Canvas to work. There was no response from the board. Members have offered to serve on committees. The board and administration have so far shut out any type of this collaboration. I hope going forward, the board truly will be transparent, diverse, inclusive, and consider the importance of local input and local control. I hope that you will choose collaboration. You have that opportunity, and we're not going to go away very soon. Thank you for listening, and I hope we can work together rather than in opposition.
Thank you. All right, no further public comment. Next is 5.3. We have an open and rolled out students, a number of students, as I understand, wishing to participate in band and I guess other activities.
So last month there was a request for a student that was going to private school to participate in a very specific middle school sport, and as anticipated by many, that has led to multiple other requests. And so what I attempted to do in the board packet was to give you enough information to recognize that there are differences between a homeschool student, between an open enroll out student, and between a student that chooses to go to private school. I don't believe that it would be prudent for us to make a decision on each one of these three cases. I would highly recommend that you make a overarching philosophy or policy around this, so that when a family asks, several of these came through Dr. Sullivan and several came through Andy Osgard, we know where the board stands on this topic, as opposed to this student wants to do this student wants to do this. And so all three of the cases, all three of the situations today are students who have open enrolled out to another public school. So just to be clear, what that means is they live within the boundaries of the school district of Black River Falls, and they choose to attend school at another public school elsewhere. That means at the end of the year, we will send state aid to that other public school district. It really doesn't matter what other district they're going to, but 2 of them are attending another district virtually while wanting to participate in extra and co-curricular activities here. We have a request to play soccer. We have a request to participate in middle school band, which is during the school day, and we have a request to participate in FCCLA at the middle school level. And so all 3 this time are open enroll out students asking to participate in middle school extra and co-curricular, except music is a course. And I just want to say this part again. If a family chooses to homeschool, there's a statute that says they can enroll in 2 classes per day, and we have many situations where that has happened. It's often music, sometimes it's chemistry at the high school level, so that certainly happens. And then the kind of reverse of this is true. If a student lives in a neighboring district and wants to take 1 or 2 classes with us, they could use the part-time open enrollment to come for 1 or 2 classes. There's no provision in which they decide to leave our district entirely, but then come back for the pieces that they are most interested in. Any other questions about the topic? Or do you understand the scenarios?
Well, I definitely understand it, and last month I voted against allowing the student to participate. Here are my reasons. I think that if a child or a family chooses to go to another district because our programs aren't good enough for them, whatever, our money goes to that other district. I don't think that if we're not good enough for the academics, I don't think we should be allowing those students to participate in extracurriculars. I've had teachers call me, I've had citizens call me and say they think that's totally wrong because the money is following the students somewhere else, so I am totally against this.
I had a question is this going to be a policy that we should create this, or does this go to the policy committee then?
I guess that would be your choice if you
Yeah.
wanted a policy. What I don't want to have to do is tell every parent, wait till the next monthly board meeting. So whether it is a policy or the board makes a decision today, and I lean on that, right, because there would be formal action. And I'm just gonna take an example. Everybody who's wearing a blue shirt can't participate in our extracurricular. If you say that and it's in motion and it's voted on, I know everybody wearing a blue shirt can't participate. Do you know what I mean? So it could become part of a policy if you wish, or you can just make that statement and take action on it, and then it becomes practice.
These extracurriculars, you said none of them were sports? No athletics?
No, I did not say that.
Okay.
There is soccer,
Okay.
there is middle school band,
Okay.
and there is FCCLA. Middle school band is part of the student school day.
Yep.
FCCLA is they meet during the school day and after school, and then soccer is after school.
So I missed the soccer.
No, that's okay.
Brad, I'd like to comment too. I think when parents make a choice to enroll out of the district, I mean, they have their individual reasons, and certainly know the importance of the arts in relations to brain development and learning, and they're making that choice and knowing what the other school has to offer. And I just feel that if we would approve this could set a precedent for potentially involving a large number of students not enrolled in our district, and giving us staffing challenges, increased student needs of our enrolled students. And I would move to not allow open enrolled students, not to allow open enrolled out students to participate in band and extracurricular activities.
All right, so I have a motion to disallow this.
Well, I would second that, but I would also like to revisit our decision that we made before
Okay,
at a future meeting.
okay. We will, so we'll add that to, do you wanna, so let's deal with that part of it
Okay.
first. Do you wanna do that our next scheduled meeting, which I don't know, that date coming?
I will not be at the next one. I'd rather have it in November, I guess, if we could deal with it then, because I have strong feelings about this.
Okay,
I would be interested to hear how it's going. If we had, I mean, I don't know the family or the students involved, but they have started their sports, I assume, and I'd just be interested to know how it's working before I go forward on our next work on that.
It looks like Dr. Sullivan has information on that? Do you? Is that what you were giving me, or were you
No, I
signaling
have a
something else?
different topic, I just want to say to the, on this point, I just wanted to talk one more thing, I don't have information about that particular family.
Okay.
I just, as the board is considering this, just, think about the safety concerns, because like for one student, two students, you can think through, okay, if there's allergies or this or that, and the different types of contact information, but none of these students are present in our information system for tracking all the things that we do for student safety. So it's just something I've been thinking about as, you know, the first phone call, the second phone call, and as this has been coming in, how we just can ensure as a school district that everyone's safe.
Skyward doesn't have a way of actually adding a student that's not a.
Perhaps.
Either they're active or they're inactive, and so if they're active, they need to have a schedule, and then attendance gets skewed. I mean, it's an awful lot of work, and so if the majority of the board wants us to investigate that, we will.
I'm
If
just
the major-
asking how it works, that's all.
And I'm just saying that right now we don't know how to do that. We could certainly research it, but either you're active or you're inactive.
As it stands right now.
I feel like we've opened a can of worms and people are going to come, you don't know how many are gonna come flooding in, but I just feel it's wrong to allow people to do this when they choose to use another school district and our state aid goes there instead of here. I just think it's wrong.
And that was part of the reason I voted the way I did on the last one, because there was no state aid moving around, right? And I felt like the cost of the district was fairly minor, because we're talking about one instance. Well, now we're talking 3 instances. We start looking at band has not just large group instruction, but small group and individual instruction. I was afraid last month that we had opened a can of worms, but I really believe.
I was afraid very much so that's, because if they opt out, there are reasons why they're choosing not to participate here as in our school district. But then I question why we are allowing them to come back for activities, that selective activities that they're choosing. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I think I would say let's not do it. I would vote no. I think because our money, to what Mary Jo said.
We've not seen a pupil per pupil revenue increase in 8 years. We have record inflation, lagging state funding. I mean, why would we put ourselves in that position of setting the precedent of opening this up to a large number?
Well, I think if everyone's concerned about financials and that's what their main concern is, I think they should vote with their conscience. If everyone's looking for goodwill or actually trying to support parents and their choices, then I would say we continue to allow it. I think there should be exceptions, and I think that's something a policy should be put in place. But I don't know how that looks right now, if we haven't determined how much of a cost it is or certain activities, because last time we talked about strictly athletic activities. And then we did talk about the cost, like Brad said, we had mentioned it, and there wasn't any cost that could be easily calculated at the time, so we decided that this case would be acceptable. And now if there is a financial aspect of this that's going to detriment the district, I think it's up to the board to decide if that works for them or not. And at the same time, if people want to still be involved in a local community in a certain aspect, but not maybe the way we want them to, I think it's something we should also look at too. So we should also factor that in, is what parents are looking, why are they doing this? What is their motivations? To have one foot here and one foot somewhere else, it's a statement of some sort. So.
And that we don't have before, so we don't know.
We don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I can't. But we also know they're looking to participate in 2 different areas.
Right.
And they're asking to participate in school activities, and that doesn't shut them out from community activities. And choosing to open and roll out for whatever the reasons, again, they have to research what that open and roll out choice has to offer their kids and weigh that out. And know the importance of the arts and what they're asking for, arts and extracurriculars.
And parents have every reason, they have every reason and every right to open and roll out.
Yes.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
If you made that choice, then you're thinking that where you're enrolling is a better place for your child, and I don't think we should be covering the other parts of that.
Mary Mary Jo, you said you wanted, Ms. Bosmanowski. Sorry, you mentioned you wanted to see how it was going with the first student for a while, or that's?
No, for a decision that we made about the sports thing, I would be interested in how
Yes.
that's going, because I assume that it's
Yeah, I don't know
it's
either.
a process, I don't know, but I would be interested in seeing.
I'd like to
how
get
it's
there.
going. I mean, and I understand it only involved one student, but when what we're talking here is a much larger, and I think it could set a precedent potentially involving a large number of families. Not enrolled in our district.
So I just want to be clear, the motion was, originally when you said it, Mary Jo, you said not allow open enroll out. And when you just reiterated, you said students not enrolled in our district. And I just want to be clear that those are two different things, right? Because
My motion was to not allow open enrolled out students to participate in middle school band and extracurricular activities.
Thank you. Thank you. Before you said not enrolled in our district, I just wanted to clarify.
In the conversation.
Yep, okay, perfect. Just wanted clarity.
But should we broaden that? Because it could be a high school open enroll-out that might want to participate in FCCLA at the high school.
Sure, okay.
I think maybe we should even broaden it.
I would be willing to amend that to take out the word middle school. I guess when I looked at the action needed, it stated specifically band and
Yes.
middle school.
Extra and co-curricular, yeah.
I have a question, Shelley. Right now, have you allowed these students to participate at all as of right now today?
No.
Nothing,
We
no
told
action
them-
been taken? Okay.
We told them they had to wait until the
Okay.
board.
Well, then in that case, I know it's a pain, but I think there's a lot of discussion that we don't have the answers to at this moment. I think we should actually allow people to come talk to us, whatever, they have the time and table this right now. I'm making a motion to table this because I think, like Mary Jo Radcliffe said, that we should actually look at this, I think with more information, or sorry, Ms. Brosmanowski said that. We should look at that and see what's going on as of this one student as a pilot case and see if it's worthwhile. And if we wait till November, like you said, I think it's something that we could have much more information and much more input. And I think we will have, because I think the volleyball season's over at the middle school.
Just to be clear, you just said that you were going to make a motion and you can't because there's already a motion and second on the table. So you said I would make a motion to delay, and I just want to be clear that you can't because there's already a motion and second on the table. So something has to happen with that motion first and then could make another.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to be clear. The student is not playing volleyball. They were running cross country. And I'm just giving you the facts. The other student is not an open enroll out student. Her motion was about open enroll out students. The student who is currently participating is not open enrolled out. So the motion wouldn't encompass that student in that situation.
I just have a question for Mary Jo. What difference would it make how it's going for that student in your mind? To find out how it's going, would that make a difference?
I just feel, the board made a decision, and I think we need to give it a chance to see what that meant and how it affected everything. I would be interested to hear it, but I disagree that I don't think we need to require the families to come forward.
No, that's not a requirement, no.
And
No, but I'd like to get their input. That way it's a better informed decision for the board. I mean, they can choose to or not to. I'm not requiring anyone to say anything. If
but
they
then
choose to say
that would be
nothing.
putting us in a position of discrimination maybe. I mean, we're making a decision here not to allow open enrolled out students. And if we're hearing individual situations and making judgment on that, I'm not comfortable with that. I think we need to just step up as a board and just say what our stance is.
I agree, Mary Jo. And with your motion, are you just pertaining these students tonight?
Well, I guess that's how it's stated
Okay.
on the agenda, but I'm willing
So
to
maybe-
go with open enrolled students
So
out.
in the future, we can talk about a
She can make a
policy.
motion, so reasonably allow the public to know what vote and action is going to be taken, right? So that's the purpose of the posting. And so open enrolled out students participating in middle school band and extra and co-curricular activities. So sports are extra and co-curricular activities, so that's all encompassed in there. And so I do believe we could make the discussion that it was appropriately noticed, and you could make that motion that would include all open enroll out students. Do you understand what I'm saying?
From here on out.
From here on out, that we still wouldn't take away what we've already done for that other student. Is that correct?
Because they wouldn't,
Not in
they're
this
not,
motion.
yeah, because they're
Okay,
not.
I agree with that.
They're not actually an open enroll out by definition, so that's, I see, let me finish, then I'll get to you. So yeah, I think we're good on that aspect. That wouldn't, now we can revisit last month's motion separately. And with that,
Just for the board's information, we currently do have a student who's open enrolled out at the high school level, and then they can, what they do, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but the way that the money comes in is that, like, I think they're in band or something like that, and so they can take the band class and then they come, we get 0.25 or some percentage of.
So then that would be a part-time open enrollment, which is entirely different.
Okay,
Mhm,
sorry,
Thank you.
just
Nope,
make sure
part-time
everyone
open enrollment
understands.
definitely exists, but if, yes.
But it does not exist at the middle school level, it's not a thing, just the high school level.
And Troy, to your idea of having people come and talk, I would feel like if I know that person, I would have extra pressure. I don't know who these kids are right now.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, so I feel better about making that decision without knowing who they are.
I just say you referred to tonight that you've heard from constituents who don't like this.
Mhm.
You took individual information outside the board and made and rationalized your decision based on that.
People contacted me.
Yes, exactly. And that's
These
all I'm
families
saying.
knew the board was we're discussing this tonight. All of those families that asked these questions, I directed Nicole and Andy Oscar to say the board will be making a decision on September 19th.
I'm just-
So the,
Okay.
I'm simply saying that they also were notified that the board was going to be discussing it, so if they wanted to come forward, they certainly had that opportunity.
I'm not saying that to come to the meeting. I think
I was
think
just
people
saying.
I think people are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I think it's something, a community discussion that should happen, but they can discuss among themselves and contact a board member at their will anytime they want. That's why we're here. We're here to represent them. And so if they have something to say about it, I like to hear it. That's all. And I like to hear possibly some of their, we only can surmise what their reasons are, but maybe they can tell us what their reasons are, and we can make a better judgment based on that. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to listen, is all I'm saying. That's,
well, and we can, I mean, if they come forward and a board member wants to bring it up, we can revisit this decision again, next time we put it on the agenda. If those families want to come forward, they didn't come forward knowing it was going to be on the agenda tonight. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who the families are. I don't know any of the motivations or thought processes on this, but back to the motion at hand, just so I'm clear here, and I can pull up my Robert's Rules cheat sheet just to be sure. So Mary Jo Roz, you had the initial motion, then Mary Jo Radcliffe had a second, then Mary Jo Roz again amended. The amendment does need a second to include all open enrolled out students in band, extra, and co-curricular activities. So that's the amendment on the floor. Looking for a second.
I would second that one too.
All right. So
Can we
Mary
get a
Jo,
clarif-
followed by Mary Jo, followed by Mary Jo, followed by Mary Jo. Thank you.
can we get a clarification too? Does this involve more than middle school students?
The amendment does, yes.
Okay, because then that might be a little out of the scope of our agenda.
We just had that whole conversation. That was the
I
amendment.
don't. I recall that conversation, but I'm saying that you just said parents had the opportunity to talk to us, and now we're talking about high school students, where it says here middle school students. So that's where my difficulty in that lies. So just try.
We don't have any requests from high school.
And they cannot participate because of.
And I think we need to
WIA
set the
rules.
precedent now. I guess I would call the question.
Okay. So we'll call the question. So any last discussion? All right. So again, the motion is in the negative, so the motion is to deny. So all those in favor of denying the, we'll just say participation, make the appropriate sign. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Nay.
So we have 5-1, motion carries. Next is 5.4, it's annual meeting time.
As I shared with you, I asked our attorney to take a look at our annual meeting. As you may or may not be aware, the powers of the electors at the annual meeting are very, very, very clearly specified in state statute. And there's little room outside of those powers that are designated through state statute. I would just remind the board that any action of the electorate is advisory to the full board. It is not binding to the full board. However, past practice certainly has been that the voice of the electors has been what carried in the end. So just wanted to remind everyone that the powers of the annual meeting are directly given by statute. There were a few things that we had not had on in the past that are one of the powers that the attorney advised would be good to add back in there. So you'll notice that there's a few more resolutions. In the past, we listed them as each of the resolutions went into the agenda, and I was advised that that is a very bizarre agenda and not the way it is typically done. Typically it is the topics that are here, and suggested that that night as a handout to have a sheet of all of the proposed resolutions there for people when they come. And here's a really concrete example as to why. I'm going to ask Jill to explain a little bit about the number side, right? Because our budget needs to be noticed in the newspaper 2 times prior to, but remember, because we have a weekly newspaper, that budget needs to be noticed in the newspaper before we find out what our exact state aid is for this school year. And so the numbers that are in the paper are not factual because that's still based off of our best estimate moving into this school year. So the night of, we've got the annual meeting book that's already printed with those fiscal numbers written in there, and then Jill has a separate sheet, and here's the real numbers, and it just never provides additional clarity. And so that sheet of resolutions that night will have all of that, and they will be out there as people sign in, they will have that sheet of resolutions. Jill and I would also, something that we added, which is a power of the electorate, that we just wanted to have a conversation. I thought perhaps here would be a good place to do that. Many school districts have their annual meeting in August. We used to up until 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago. We moved ours to October because we wanted to be able to use the exact numbers. The challenge is we're still publishing not right numbers in the paper because of when the state aid comes in. Your annual meeting has to happen before the end of October, and we don't find out about our state aid until right before that. So it's if we have to publish numbers and they're not factual anyway, do we want to go back to August and do it before the school year starts, as opposed to leaving in October where we sometimes butt up against Halloween? And because right now our board policy says the 4th Monday of October. So we can't change it without the board can, because that group is advisory only, but I'm just throwing that out there to see if you are interested in making a change to it. Either way, the budget is not going to have the accurate numbers when it's posted in the paper. Do you have more thoughts on the pros and cons of August versus October?
I mean, the only good thing of the annual meeting is I have actual numbers to share, but it might seem confusing to people why they're actual now, but they weren't in the paper if they don't know all that background. They're always estimated if it's before September, whatever, but yeah, I mean, some of the things we learn in September, we learn our third Friday count so we can get our revenue limit. We know what that is when we're developing the budget, but the tax levy and the aid will still be out of, I mean, they're gonna change by the annual meeting. That's just, I can't estimate right down to $1, so it's whatever the board feels we'll continue to do. Just wanted to throw that out there that we always struggle. It's like, okay, I'm publishing these numbers, and then sometimes I have you set another levy before we publish so that it's not the levy from June. So we're publishing again. It's just, there's just a lot of steps. I don't know if it's all worth it or not. So we just wanted to.
So in October, you're saying that more accurate numbers, I mean, for the most
So
part?
The night of the meeting there is.
Yeah, October 15th is when the Department of Revenue sets our equalization aid amount. That is when they have to set it by statute. But we're posting that agenda probably the week before that, and then again the week after that, or around that time before the meeting on the 24th, just because of the way the weekly paper falls. We have to have that in there the whole week before for the next week's paper.
So they're wrong in August and they're wrong in October.
Correct.
I don't think, does it, it's,
I mean, with the only good thing, like I said, when you get to the annual meeting, I usually have time then to calculate the actual numbers of what it will be, but it's confusing because of what's been in the paper as an estimate. Is a budget.
So many schools do it in August. We used to up until, let me say,
Yeah.
7, 8 years ago. So don't have a strong preference, just wanted to entertain the conversation to see if you had thoughts. Because our policy right now says the 4th Monday in October. So it was Halloween a few years ago. That certainly could and may happen again. And unless we look a year in advance to know that, right, then we're,
This is one of the, on an annual meeting, one of the things they could, you schedule the next annual meeting. That's part of one of the agenda, right?
Yeah.
which is why I'm asking if this group has a recommendation
Fair
for
enough.
the group.
Okay.
I have no feeling either way, whatever you guys think is the best, that's what I would say.
This the fourth Monday is policy. It is the October 23rd of 2023. So we miss Halloween at least one more year.
That 23rd is getting close to the 15th when they have
Right.
the aid out, and there's an awful lot of budgetary work that has to happen from them telling us our aid and getting all of that stuff ready.
Whatever you guys think is how I feel, I don't have any preference. You guys?
I really
don't.
I don't either,
No.
just wanted to entertain the conversation, so. Okay. Otherwise, you'll see everything is pretty standard compared to previous discussions we've had. Any questions about it?
I move to approve the annual meeting notice agenda.
Second?
Alright, Mary Jo followed by Mary Jo again. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the annual meeting notice as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, the Ad Hoc Community Engagement Committee update. This has been a good committee that's starting to gain some traction. Mary Jo?
So there was a photo that we wanted up for that. I think we heard of it. It shouldn't be action needed.
That's what I
I'm
was
so
gonna
sorry.
ask.
I don't
Okay.
know why that's on there. I apologize for that.
Do you want me to tell a little bit?
I was told you were gonna, you have notes prepared and everything.
I do. It has been a pretty busy committee. We have an event coming up on September 28th, which all of you have a flyer for that event. We will have, we're partnering together with Jackson County Kids and the BRFPTO. We're providing childcare and light snacks, and it's a community conversation with our goals spreading positivity, celebrating successes throughout the organization, and solution seeking around our challenges. So I hope everyone can attend that. I think it'll be a good event. Other things we've been doing is open house at Red Creek and the middle school. We had these Tiger Parent Pledges. And this is the one I was manning at Red Creek. And they're kind of written over the top, but the parents were saying that to support my student, I will ensure my student attends school every day and is on time, participate in school activities, actively listen to my student and talk with them, ask questions, have conversations, and model curiosity about topics being discussed and studied by my student, model respectable behavior and a positive attitude, and support teachers in their efforts to educate my student. And parents that believe that signed it at both of those schools, and those Tiger Parent Pledges will be up. That one will be up at Red Creek, and the one at the middle school will be up. We will also have one for open houses for Forest Street, Gebhardt, and the high school, whenever we have our open house. We also started a sign-up sheet to help teachers. There were people that were willing to help them before school started and with the move, so that's another thing the community did. And then also, people on the committee called community members to welcome staff that first day when the teachers and staff came out of the Lenda Theater, and that was a real positive activity. Can you think of anything else that we've done? I mean, that's a lot in the last month.
Yeah, I mean, this group really is just getting started. There's a lot of energy around it. There's a lot of effort going into right now the Wednesday, September 28th community conversations, and that will That's going to hit it has not hit social media yet, right? It will be coming out soon.
Waiting for this.
Okay. So the flyer is just got completed, and so we'll be hitting social media and parent messenger and all of that very soon. So hopefully we have a good turnout for that, and yeah.
Let you know more, huh?
Right. Yep.
Any questions?
That's good.
No, thank you. That's great.
Welcome.
All right. So that one, despite listing action needed, there is no action needed on that. What's that? You want to say? I'll let you second that. Next, moving on to 6.1, focus on purpose. That's high school updates.
The dynamic duo of Madsen and Penza on the floor. Oh, sorry, you're used to applause when you take the floor, my bad.
Okay, thanks for having us. We're excited to talk to you about our school year. So here we go, the 2022-2023 Blackbird Falls High School year. We rock. So we had a couple things we want to talk to you about. We just have 2 slides. We were going to talk about our PLACE program, but fortunately we talked to Dr. Sullivan today, and we know that she's going to be talking to you about that, so we won't be duplicating any information. Do you want to, are you doing this one?
I am.
Okay, so
He forgot his sheet.
I'm just going to talk about this crew first. So the freshman field day was something that I was not able to attend because I had COVID. I was gone the first week of school. But this group of people is led by the top row. You can see right in the middle, Britton Slowey is kind of the head of the spear, so to speak, in this group. She is the advisor for this group of people we have called Life Team, which stands for Leadership is for Everyone. So when you look at those faces, these are all amazing young people. I will tell you they are not all our highest achieving academically students, because we want our students to see that you can lead from wherever you are, whether you're a great academic student in our school or you're great in other ways. So this is the group that organized what Mrs. Penza is going to talk about.
So we all know that as freshmen come into high school, it's a anxiety-ridden time, right? Transitioning to high school can be hard. So this group decided to expand on our freshman first morning, right? So we did that last year. But this year, this group put it together to add more fun, more excitement, and to get the students engaged with older students in our building so that they could engage with them, know who they could come to if they had questions, and really answer all the questions that they had on the first day. So it started with them having to listen to me a little bit about kind of rules and things like that, so not super exciting. But then they got to go out into the football field where all of our teachers applauded them. And if you talk to our teachers of the district, when we walked out on the teacher first day, how cool that felt to feel the community support of them. Our students felt that same way. We are here to support you, we're here to guide you through this year, and we're really excited for you to be part of the high school. And then they played a bunch of field day games, right? And they participated in volleyball and hacky sack and the sack races. And they did a whole bunch of things, and they got to bond with their advising groups. So in the high school, we have advising hour where they're their little community of family at the high school. And so they got to really get to know them in different community building ways. And then they also got to go through their schedule, right? So without the rest of our student body there, they got to experience what their schedule would look like and kind of find those classrooms without feeling overwhelmed by the rest of the students there. Students really enjoyed the experience, and I think they were ready for the rest of their day as the rest of our students' body came in for the afternoon.
There's the gunny sack.
Oh yes, sorry, gunny sack race. There we go.
Okay. The other thing, hey, what's good? We've got some really cool things going on in our building relative to opportunities for students academically. And we just wanted to point out a few of those. So you can see the number of students enrolled in each of these areas. So our Success Lab, when we got to the high school last year, there was a position, ALEC room supervisor or something, the Alternative Learning Education Center, or whatever ALEC stood for in this district. And it didn't really fit with our philosophy. You know, in my opinion, we had this big room that was dedicated for all the naughty kids to go and B, when they were being naughty. And I've never been in a place that had that before, and I just don't like the way that feels. It puts a little added pressure on us to handle those situations, because we do once in a while have a naughty situation we have to deal with. But we've got systems in place to handle that better this year than we probably did last year. Point being, we took that person in our building and we dedicated that person to oversee the Success Lab. Now, this Success Lab is in place to help students recover credits that they maybe lost in previous years or trimesters. So if, in the past, if a student failed biology, they go back into biology right away. And that can, a student might be unsuccessful for a variety of reasons. And one of those might be because it's the teacher, right? That relationship there might not be a good fit. So this opportunity is for students to do this online, self-paced. We have some students who can recover many credits that they need to during Success Lab. They're scheduled there for 1 period a day. Last year it was just one of our paraprofessionals that did it. This year we've got teachers in a few of the hours that are helping to support those students as well.
So last year we had 92 students work through Success Lab throughout the year, and they gained back 115.5 credits. So instead of having to move them to some of our alternative ed programs, which we'll talk about a little bit later, they were able to gain them back within the year and then be able to move on with their high school experience.
Yep, so great success. Okay, next one. We have, this one I'm really excited about. Teacher Academy. We currently have 5 students this semester at CVTC that are enrolled in a 6-credit cluster of classes where they are studying early teacher prep kind of stuff, educational psychology. I can't remember what the other class is offhand right now. Does it say anything?
Oh, I have a paper. Sorry. No, it does not.
Just hang on. I made a copy for both of us, and I think she took mine to sabotage me.
I did.
What are the 2 courses?
It does not say.
Okay, so it's educational psychology and another educational training course. But it's so great because I don't know if you're aware, but there's a teacher shortage, right, that we're dealing with. And I feel strongly that it's up to us to express to those students who we feel will be great educators someday that this is an amazing profession and you would be such a great addition to our family. Oftentimes when I'm talking to kids, I'll say, if I slide a contract across to you right now, you promise to come back in 8 years, will you do it? Because we want to grow some of our own. Or even if they don't stay here, we need to make that a much more robust pool of teaching candidates because it's good for everybody when we have high quality people in those situations.
So you've heard this before. We are in love with transcripted credits through WTC. So this year, our students are going to earn 399 transcripted course. Well, they're in 399 transcripted courses. So that means that they are going to walk away with having a WTC transcript that they can take with them and have earned those credits. And so we're really excited about this, and we're hoping to expand it into other departments. So right now it's a lot of business, construction, parenting, foods, things like that, but we're hoping that our English teachers might buy in, math courses, some science, so that all of our students have the opportunity to walk away from our high school with transcripts that say, I earned these courses and go to wherever they want to after high school.
Just because I just looked at the number today, I have to remind everybody, last year the credits earned at Black River Falls High School through WTC was a grand total of tuition of $81,000 that families did not have to pay because of those transcripted credits, and that wasn't 399 classes, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Does your sheet of paper say how many students that is?
No, just
I was just curious.
That's a fair
That's a
question.
fair
So we do have certain
there's doubled up.
many.
Right, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean,
But here's and Kim touched on it. My vision is that every single student, when they leave us with a diploma, walks out with college credit. There's no reason, because the skyrocketing cost of education beyond high school right now, it's within our power to help dampen that a little bit. Why wouldn't we do that? Like, our kids should walk out with an English credit, a biology credit, a U.S. history, and what was the other one we were talking about? There are four core.
There's like a
Did I say English? Bio? Oh, bio, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that's our vision.
And Redefining Ready supports that. Absolutely. Redefining Ready talks about post-secondary credits while you're in high school and the trajectory that puts you on to be successful in whatever post-secondary pathway you take.
Not that we expect every kid to go to college. That's not our expectation. We know that's not for everybody. But why wouldn't we put those credits in their pocket so they could walk out and save some money if that's what they choose to do?
The other college courses.
Other college courses.
There's 15 total other college
I was
courses.
waiting for Jill to hit the.
Oh, sorry.
There must be
Okay.
I don't know.
Luke made it, there's gonna be something moving.
You're gonna talk about it.
I am. So we've got Paul Ricken teaches the course First Nations course that is through UW Green Bay, that dual enrollment course, and then we've got kids taking like medical terminology, macro and microeconomics, all through different UW Green Bay, UW River Falls, UW Eau Claire, lots of different state schools where our students are earning college courses. And then
we have our AP courses, so everyone knows about advanced placement. We have a total of 124 of those course people in those courses. And so they learn, they do all their thing, and then they have to take that test at the end, and they could walk away with that credit depending on how well they test at the end. So our teachers right now, we are looking at like our scores from the past and really redefining how they are preparing our students for those tests at the end, as well as giving them an AP PLC so they can talk more and share with each other about the resources and ways that they're helping our AP students improve and test well so they can earn that credit in the end.
I think that's been really well received by those teachers, because I think if you're teaching AP Bio in Black River Falls, you're the AP Bio teacher. And certainly AP Bio is different than AP Psych and different than AP Push, but the thread is the rigor, right? And the pacing can be challenging. So just getting ideas from colleagues, we think will be beneficial for our teachers and ultimately our students.
That seems like a significant number. I mean, is it up from years past or?
It's right around the same.
Okay.
So again, that could be one student taking 4 different courses, so.
And no student that has Mr. Plaza would feel like this as an AP Calc teacher, right? If you look at the words, there it is. You're taking AP Calculus BC, yeah? What do you have in the class? That's one of my favorites. Sorry. Okay.
Any questions? You should probably ask that.
Love the energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They take the show on the road as well.
Do you need us to come to anything?
Thank you, guys.
All right. No action either on that one. Next, we have employment recommendations.
They were included in your packet. Some of these were very, very last minute that they missed our August meeting, and so you're seeing them now in September. But some of the more challenging positions we are going virtual for, our speech and language pathology, as well as we may end up looking for some virtual school psychologists to help as the school year goes on. So there are just no candidates out there.
So cool to have mother, father, and now son.
Isn't that something?
That's amazing.
So that first day when we were doing like the Hollywood red carpet, it was fun to, there was like a father-son picture, then there were several spouse pictures, there were several, like we were able to take lots of family pictures, and that is, I think, speaks very loudly for the culture that the staff are working within, that they would encourage. We always say, would you recommend working for the school district of Black River Falls to a friend you knew applying? Well, heck, they're bringing their family along with them, and so that's a pretty reigning endorsement. So.
What do we have as openings right now?
The speech and language path, school psychologist, and I think
Rachel's spot?
instructional coach at Forest Street, with Rachel moving to the AP position.
Okay, and you filled Jennifer Hill's position?
Yes.
Yes.
Carly Dobson is starting in our office next week.
Monday.
Yay!
Speaking with our new elementary music teacher. His girlfriend is a school psych, and he's hoping that she's finishing up.
Oh, she's just finishing school. Oh my gosh, do we have a job for her? Nice. And he's from here, so.
I'm quite sure that that's what he told me. No, I missed, but check with him.
Chat with him.
You check with him and see, because I'm thinking that's what he told me.
I won't forget. To the point that Luke and Kim made about the program for teachers, that is another piece of BLAST. I don't know if you read the Spotlight on Schools, but I really do get excited about that opportunity for BLAST because we've hired, some of our aides that we've hired in recent years did BLAST when they were younger, and then they come back and want to be aides, as well as people who've gone into the education field that they had that direct experience working with kids. And I think as schools we're tasked with preparing kids for any and every single occupation, and way too many times we overlook the Captain Obvious one right in front of us. Do you want to be a teacher? Fantastic, we can help you with that as well. So I'm really excited for that. Those are my big credits.
I move that we accept these employment recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next 7.1, our at-risk
You missed me.
I'm not as fun as the Kim and Luke show. The Kim and Angie show
Kim and Angie
is
show's
not
gonna be so
dynamic.
much fun too.
We're not as dynamic.
So we are tasked to talk to you about our at-risk programs and just how they are working here at Blackbird Falls School District. So first we wanted to refresh you in what does it mean to be at risk. So this is all the DPI language. So it's
Light reading.
yeah, so I'm sure you all have read this. So anybody at risk of not graduating from high school are defined as at risk in grades 5 through 12 because they are dropouts or 2 or more of the following reasons, right? 1 or 2 years behind their age group in credits, 2 or more years behind their age group in skills, habitually truant, if they're a parent, they're adjudicated delinquents, or their 8th grade scores show that they are below the level typical in that grade level.
Okay, so we went through our at-risk plan and made some updates to it. We changed the date on it first. But we started out again with the reinforcing that description of what at-risk programming is, and the board requirements as well, and all sorts of bullet points in there that we're gonna scroll past because it's a lot of reading. And then we kind of highlighted our programs that we have available within the district. So our Phoenix Academy Alternative High School for our credit deficient students. They come for 15 hours a week. They work through Edmentum, and typically we're at the Gebhardt School. Students getting referred for that program comes through a referral process through the high school, which we'll talk about on the next slide a little bit more. The Renaissance program is our GED high school equivalence diploma program where students attend classes through TC and work on studying and preparing for that HSED diploma. And that also comes through our counseling department with the high school for making recommendations of that.
Can I interrupt for one moment?
Yes.
How many kids right now are enrolled in Phoenix program? About
22? 22.
Okay. And that's AM and PM, that's both
Yep.
groups combined?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we have 2 groups, one from 8 to 11 in the morning and then another group from noon to 3. So that we can make smaller class sizes, they can get more individual help from Nancy Foreman, who's kind of the tutoring person that helps through it, and she is amazing at working with students and getting them through Edmentum courses. And so they have that 2 groups.
And how many in Renaissance right now?
5.
I was gonna say 4, so you knew better than me. All right, so our WIN program. The WIN program is currently what used to be kind of a combination of the Nexus program and then the DP program. So students both in regular and special education can participate in this program. It is currently being led by a special education teacher and supported by 2 paraprofessionals who do a fantastic job in helping out. The WIN program is, a referral is made for that. We start out with a goal in mind of it just being a short-term placement to kind of learn skills and build back up the habits that students need to be successful within the regular school, whether it's because they have behavior issues, academic struggles, attendance goals. We've got some students who just their anxiety level makes it really difficult to be in the big building with all those moving parts all the time. And so to be able to help those kids work on those skills and reach those goals, there's a mental health component to the WIN program where we have a group of, well, last year it was a group of therapists, this year it's slightly different, but they come in and work on skills training with these students, and then hopefully we're able to send them back to the high school then with a set of skills to help them attend with their peers once again. And then we've got a couple kids who we think it's probably just the right fit for them.
Is that just high school students for that?
Right now, we only have high school students in it, but it is available to high school and middle school. Thank you, that was a good question. Yeah, we didn't talk about
And we
middle
have
school in
11
there.
students right now in
Yes.
WIN. So,
And then Challenge Academy, this just talks a little bit about our partnership with Challenge Academy. Of course, it's located at Fort McCoy. It's not just a Black River Falls thing. Lots of other students attend Challenge as well, but I believe we can find out more information through our counseling office on that one.
and we have one
as
student
well.
in Challenge Academy.
Yes. And then other programs supporting students are Title I, our EL program for English learners. We have 2 of them this year, so that's exciting. Title VI is our Ho-Chunk. That was led by Laura Simonson, and Nicole Sullivan is now the contact for that program. We've got our Educational Homeless Services. Vicki Mikulski does a great job with that. The BGC, Boys and Girls Club of Jackson County. They've got all kinds of programming for kids, and Zach Diggins is their program coordinator, so people can contact him with questions. We've got our summer school programs. Alternative graduation requirements. So when students, the students in Black River Falls need 26 credits to graduate, but the requirement in the state of Wisconsin is 15.5. So we want to add some more robust opportunities in there for students, but sometimes those kids who go through those alternative programs have a harder time accessing electives and things like that for whatever their circumstance might be. And so we do reduce the number of credits that students need, particularly if they go through the Phoenix program, but also there are other routes for needing that as well. And then homebound instruction for students who are unable to attend school for whatever possible reason that would be. Our school age parent program, and then we've got response to intervention courses, and our success lab that Luke and Kim highlighted before. And then these are different things, different community resources, particularly like through the county and things like that. So there's all sorts of starting from birth all the way through transition programming that helps our students and our families. They are resources that anybody can access.
So as you can see, we have lots of resources within our school and in our community to try to help students who are considered at risk, because our goal is to get them to graduation and get them to be successful at whatever they choose to do after high school. You don't have to click on the all-ed program description.
I just did it,
So it's
I'm
fine.
so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I still have under.
I'm used to it. Have you met Luke? So anyway, so our alternative education program at the high school, there's a process for students to get enrolled, and we just want to talk about it a little bit. So our high school counselors are heavily involved in making sure that our students are getting to graduation and getting the skills that they need to meet those graduation requirements. So any 8th grade student that's coming over that we have concerns about, we'll have a transition meeting between the counselors. And then at each grade level, our counselors are meeting individually with students. They're talking about how is school going for you? How is your credits looking at? What are your favorite things to do in school? What do you think you want to do after school? So they are constantly monitoring and checking in with them to make sure that they are on track for whatever they want to do after high school. And when they're not on track, they bring those names to the CAST meetings, which is counselors, administration, school social worker, school psych, all those S's, team. And then we talk about what is the best placement for this student, right? If the high school is not meeting their needs, what works best for them? If they're a 9th and 10th grader, we're gonna focus on that WIN program, right? Because that's our program where we want to help them build skills, and then we wanna get them back to the high school. We don't want them to feel like they're always going to be a Gebhardt alternative ed student. So how do we meet your needs, get those skills so you can come back to us? If they're a junior or senior, we're gonna talk about Phoenix, we're gonna talk about Renaissance, we're gonna talk about Challenge Academy, what works best for that student, and then include those parents in on that conversation and what they feel is best for their student as well. So we have a process that we walk through. Gebhardt staff sometimes always felt a little out of the loop, so we've included Chris Holney, who is the kind of program support coordinator over at Gebhardt, to our CAS meeting, so he can start hearing some of the names earlier than later, so they're feeling part of the process as well as we transition students over to Gebhardt. Oh, and then we just have some historical data for you. It's actually like the second tab. I don't know why the sheet 2 is there, and I couldn't delete it, so it's there. Just historical data of how successful the programs have been. So as you can see over the years, how many students have graduated from Renaissance, and that would be that HSED program with WTC. How many have chosen to return, and sometimes that's because they were juniors when we placed them in that program, and so then they continue into their senior year. And then those that don't return, right? So they didn't make it or have chosen a different path for themselves. And you can go through all the different programs and see those totals and numbers. But I would say that of the majority of our programs, they're working. They're working for our students. They are graduating. You can see in Phoenix, we had 11 last year graduate, 11 return. Those were all juniors. They're just coming back to continue finishing their program. And then we just had 2 that chose not to return. So our alternative ed programs are working for the students because I think we're properly placing them in places that they can feel successful and build their skills and get the credits that they need.
Do you want to go through all these or go back?
Do you want me to read numbers, Steve? Okay, nope, we're good.
I'm gonna put the question back.
And then back to that individualized planning. So aligning with our vision in the school district of Black River Falls, we create an individualized path to future success for every student through the consistent practices of dedicated educators and meaningful partnerships with families in our community. And our alt ed programs support that by focusing on academics, personal and social skills building, and career and college readiness.
Any questions about our at-risk program and what we're doing with students to help them succeed and graduate from Black River Falls?
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that you wanted them to reintegrate with their class quite often. Is that do you track that data at all? Is it?
Yeah, so
Was that in that data?
so WIN is really the program that we do that. If they go on to Renaissance, they go to Challenge Academy, the credit thing goes away and they're working on a different set of rules. So they really can't transition back. And Phoenix, they're usually a little bit too low in credits. That is the only way to graduate is to stay there and be able to earn as many credits as they can. So it's really that WIN program. And last year was a little tricky, but we did have 2 students return, 1 for sure, now on 1 return to the high school. We expect more this year, right? Some of them weren't ready. They wanted another trimester to work on some of those skills. We started transitioning them back to like the last hour of the day because the WIN program is from 8 to 1:45. So some of them are coming for our last period and they're being successful in that hour. And then we're gonna keep building onto their schedule.
We met individually with families before school started and really looked at what is the goal for you, the student, and you, the parents, and we were really excited that most of our families and students were interested in taking those afternoon classes at the high school after their 1:45 dismissal time from the WIN program. So that was really exciting to see that we're moving in a good direction and making good progress.
Thank you.
How are the spaces working at the D1 Center for you?
It's working. They have nice big open rooms that those 2 programs are, or that the WIN program and then the Phoenix program are working in. They unfortunately have like a temporary wall between them, and so sound travels. And the Phoenix kids are very quiet workers, and the WIN kids are not. And so that's
Yeah.
been a little bit of a challenge, but we're making it work. There's places
They
where,
love the gym.
yep.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
gym,
Love
and we
going
should
to the gym.
have PE all day long.
We've got all that area, like on the mezzanine, by the stairway, and so sometimes kids will break out into small groups and work out there. And we've used it for the offsite EBD program there as well for the younger kids, where sometimes we just need to put a little geography between kids to calm things down a little bit, and so we've been able to do that. It's worked out really nicely.
But I think the staff are looking forward to going back to Get Park.
Yeah,
To have their spaces and know.
Yeah, it seemed shiny and new and great at first, and then we're like, oh, we kind of do miss our own comfort zones, our own comfy spaces. So
Hopefully you'll be back there soon.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
That says action needed, do we need?
That needs to be adopted by the board annually. Because it lists all the resources and programs and, yeah.
I make a motion to accept the at-risk plan as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is Place Mentoring Program.
So I get to talk to you about a new topic this evening. We're moving away from standards-based grading on to PLACE. So this is a mentor program that we're working on inputting into the high school. And so this is the result of the work of a lot of individuals through our business community and through the business advisory partnerships that some of you have been participating in. And so PLACE stands for Positive Leadership and Community Engagement, and the idea is that every student should have place. And as you can see, the first bullet, the mentorship program is designed to bring students into direct contact with local participating businesses and business people. This is really about those relationships that matter. So it's coming to life after our COVID hiatus. So we've sent out messages to community members. Right now we have 11 mentors signed up. We have a plan in place to get our mentors trained and what the curriculum will look like. The team that worked, they put together some really good ideas for what can happen in those monthly conversations between the mentor and the mentees. The big idea is that the mentors will come into the high school after this training, and then there's these structured meetings that they'll be able to have during lunch and learn to help, support the skills that we want students to walk away with. And the next step that we have to do is we have scheduled for the guidance department is going to be going into advising classes. I keep this middle school, high school, everyone has a different word for the different classes, but into the classes and advertising to our students so that to participate. So the hope is to match our students to our mentors and just get some good relationships going for the course of the year. Any questions on the PLACE program?
That's exciting. So just to flash back for the rest of the board members, that started as a part of our 2015 strategic plan to increase the number of business partnerships that we had. And that committee's been working for years on gathering input and ideas and suggestions and how can we make them actionable. And then during COVID, certainly took a hiatus for a while, but it's exciting to see this come to fruition now. So
Are they all in Black River or just?
One business, for example, is from Osseo. There's the Osseo company. So Stephanie Bruggen has offered to be a mentor.
Falls Meats.
Falls Meats. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Terrible advertising. So no, they're not just from Black River.
And I definitely heard some interest. I've been spreading the word since you forwarded that on to me, so.
Thank you very much.
It's a cool program. Thank you.
All right, that one does not need action. Although you should share that with folks who might be interested. Next is the FCCLA field trip. That form is in your packet.
I move to approve the field trip.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that one? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on, we are up to the 8 series, 8-1, monthly expenditures.
I believe, yes, this is one where I told you about some of our staffing challenges in this office, right? So they did not all end up, not the full reports were not in there this time, or were they?
I think
They were? Okay,
There
sorry.
were just those monthly reports that do like revenues, expenses, balance sheet, those were not fully reconciled with bank
That was a
statements and
different
stuff. That there's still some, you might have noticed negative cash. We need to move money from invest to cash and stuff like that. That had not happened yet. We do those reports, but it's being worked on right now.
I have a question.
And as we said, Carly is starting next week, and so that will fully staff the district office again. Last year, we made the reduction of Joey Gilbertson, working at the transportation office doing morning dispatch, and so that was a slice of time from this building, and the beginning of the school year is especially needy over at the transportation office with all the new transportation contracts, and so losing Chapel, and the timing made it a little bit rocky for getting the rest of the business stuff done, and appreciatively, Tammy focused her efforts on payroll, and we had another part-time substitute secretary that helped with all of the copying and laminating, which also is in very, very, very high demand in the beginning of the school year. So,
And I see my other question is identified under finance with Carly. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Well, I don't know if I see it now, but it was, year to date and whatever, and it was like different classes, class of 2016, they had negative balances.
Yeah, so it depends if you're looking at a liability or an equity account, those would be negative. That means that there's money in them. It's just the opposite of what you think. But so I'm not sure what you're looking at, Tom. I can look at it with you afterwards.
Now I can't find it, of course.
Maybe they paid their balance.
Right, so I will move to approve monthly expenditures.
I'll second that.
Motion second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, next is our facility update. Timelines.
Yeah, so a couple factors that are really slowing down the train at Forest Street, and one of them, we believe we now have a plan for this Wednesday. There's two big issues, and one of them is the gas service to the building. Right now it comes up right where we need to pave to get into receiving in the cafeteria, and We Energies has been scheduled to come in the past to move it, and there's been a crew there to help facilitate that, and We hasn't made it, and so the crew is unutilized and the gas doesn't move. That is pivotal to an awful lot of systems taking place, and so just today Jill found out that We Energies called and they're coming Wednesday. So getting gas service to the building is going to be a very, very, very big deal because of course heating, cooling, food service equipment, all of those things, and not to mention we can't pave because right now the gas pipe is coming up right smack in the middle of where that paving needs to be. So if that happens Wednesday, that's going to be very exciting. The other piece that has just been this ongoing struggle is the electrical breakers. So we told you about the large, the name just went on.
Switchgear.
Yes, thank you. You knew that was a word I couldn't think of. I had it for a long time. The large panels with the switchgear. So there's 527 or 47 small breakers. I don't remember when this happened. I don't think I was able to update you. They said it was about 12 to 18 months lead time to get all of those small breakers. Then suddenly this company that was here cleaning them, not Service Master, but Electrostar, that specializes more in electrical equipment as opposed to the rest of the building type of cleaning stuff. They said that they had a vendor that could get us those breakers, and so we got very excited. And they came, and there was a great big box of 500 counterfeit breakers. They were not from the manufacturer. They were in the boxes from the manufacturer, but we even sent them to Square D, and Square D, those aren't ours. We don't put stickers on. We don't blah, blah, blah. So we don't know if they were refurbished. We don't know if they were from another country. We don't know, but none of them were going to solve our problem. So we could not install any of them. Then another company says, we have your breakers. You don't have to wait 12 to 18 months. Before they sent them, we certified through Square D that they are an authorized provider. They had to get from a whole bunch of other little jobs, and so I just have to say these words because it was so frustrating. There's 20 emails in a day. Is this all the breakers? Yes, all the breakers. All the breakers have been from this authorized dealer. We're going to get all the breakers. Yep, all the breakers. And then the breakers come and they spend a whole weekend putting in all of those breakers. And they were just kidding, it wasn't all the breakers, it was all the small breakers, not the big breakers. And by that point I was more than a little frustrated, and I said, well, we educate all the kids, not just the little ones, we have to educate the big kids too, why wasn't that part of it? So there are 14 big breakers that they could not get. We just found them, the lead time is between 15 and 65 days to get those big breakers in. So what has to happen are those switch gear panels need to be cleaned. Power has to come all the way down, switch panels cleaned as well as possible. And the company has not cleaned big breakers like that before, because they say they just always replace them because there's not usually such supply chain issues. They could just replace a breaker if it's not working. But we are asking them to clean those big ones, or at least clean all the switch gear around them. Use the ones that we have temporarily, and when it comes to Thanksgiving break or Christmas break and we have those other 14 big breakers, we would replace all of them. To be honest, one of our greatest challenges is Jill Kent and I sit there, and Myron Construction sits there, and B&B Electric, and sometimes both insurance companies, and nobody can tell us who gets to make the decision when we are turning the power all the way back on. So right now we're running on a low power load. It's running the lights, but certainly not all the smart boards and computers, and like that stuff's not all powered up right now because they've been afraid of arcing or something happening if we did the full electrical load. And so everyone's kind of like, not it, to decide when we get to turn it back on. We finally got an answer on Friday that us and the general contractor get to decide when it is adequately cleaned, that we get to at least start going on full power. So breakers and gas were some significant challenges. Of course, there are still lots of other construction things, as you saw on our walkthrough, that still need to be taken care of. When we were talking about it, even if the gas is there, the pipes are not all insulated, and so the process to fill the whole system with water and work on that commissioning could take like 4 days. We were concerned about it being October and bringing our youngest kids back in when heat is 2-3 weeks away. We were unsure of all those pieces. Here's our current thinking. What we are suggesting is that on October 7th, the high school is talking about, we're working with the high school on some very creative ideas on finding ways to bring our first grade and kindergarten students to the field house first thing in the morning. So remember, Fridays we don't have early childhood or 4-year-old kindergarten, so we have fewer kids. Kindergarten and first grade would go to the field house, and high school teachers and kids would have stations and games and activities. We'd feed them there. We could walk to the Lunda Park. We could do all kinds of field day type activities with the kindergarten and first grade. While those teachers, we would put out an all-call for community helpers, as well as some of the other high school students that are willing to lift boxes, furniture, all that stuff. We were talking to Millis about getting a trailer again, that we would go to one building first, load it all up, move it over to Forest Street, go to the next building, load it all up, move it over to Forest Street, empty it. And then on Monday, October 10th, it is a professional development day in the district. We would give all of the Forest Street staff that full day to get re-situated in their classrooms. In addition to that day, we are trying to use some substitute teachers to sub for the teacher in their current spaces, either at the D1 or at Gebhardt, and then give them that time to go over to their classroom. The challenge with trying to allocate time is not every teacher is in the same place. There are some classrooms whose stuff stayed in that space, and there are other classroom teachers who are having to sort through the whole building to try to find where their belongings got put by service master and stuff after the cleaning. So we are cognizant of the time that it's going to take to reestablish, but we thought if they could get, because again, it's not just moving your classroom. If you walked through, Service Master has everything wrapped and boxed, and so it's not just putting stuff back where it goes, but unpacking it again and then finding its home, because literally everything was in boxes and moved. So we are still working with that staff to try to come up with a plan that feels respectful to them and feels respectful to families and can get us back in the building. We believe most of the construction is going to be done early next week. We're going to take a walkthrough mid next week, and if it feels like we're on track, then that's it. Go full speed ahead. That's our timeline. If for whatever reason, like if the gas wasn't moved or any of those other foundational pieces, then we would be having different conversations. But right now, that is our tentative plan.
And open house with.
I don't know. I wanted to be there before we started talking about it. So the dedication ceremony, it makes sense to just push it back until people get to live in the building for a space, because I think part of it is people wanting to see where their kids are at and the staff, you know. They need some decompression time after all of this, so it'd be nice to get them in their spaces. As far as high school construction, an awful lot more of that is completed. We're getting closer and closer and closer. There are weird things like the glass in a door, the glass window. Glass is hard to come by, so they've put some wood on those doors for now, just for security, so that the rooms can be locked. And so there are some things that we just know we're not going to have in time. We know that already. I appreciated Mr. Halstead after the last board meeting, and I'm reminded of it frequently that the last project that we did certainly went smoother, but it wasn't post-pandemic. It wasn't in the midst of workforce issues across all areas, right? As well as supply chain issues, with so many of the supplies being that far behind. So questions, comments, concerns? We've not communicated that out to anyone other than the staff to start planning on what's going to happen up at the field house, as well as the Forest Street staff has heard bits and pieces of it. Unfortunately, Mrs. Floyd is ill, but I met with one team today, and I'm going to meet with the other team tomorrow to just talk about what their needs are and whatnot.
So you'll let us know after you do the walkthrough and decide if it's a call.
Absolutely, absolutely. They really felt confident by the 26th that it would look like a new building. So
The biggest deal is the heat. They were waiting on pumps for the boiler, and those are
They
going
did.
to be here the 23rd or something like that, so it's getting there, but we need to have heat. I just really worried about
Sounds like
that.
it with the forecast.
yeah. And so then there was challenges with the pumps, so Myron moved heaven and earth and found the pumps for the guy who's doing the heat. And then they said, well, I'm not sure I have a workforce ready at that time. We're like, but we need you to have a workforce at that time. So there's just so many moving parts to it, and certainly the delay wreaked havoc on all that, because the subs were all there, and then as soon as they couldn't be back in that building, they moved on to other projects. And so getting them all back in a timely manner has been really
Shelley,
challenging.
did you want to mention the joist in the floor
Oh,
going into the old the old office area?
would you like to talk about that?
Sure.
Thank you.
So where the old entrance was into 4th Street, underneath there, that slab used to stick out. Actually, the building underneath had part of the sidewalk over on top of it. We've had leaking there for years and years and years. It's gotten so bad that the floor joists are actually rusted out. Furthermore, they found today that we saw pictures of it, the electrical has to be replaced in that area, and there's a vent that is part of the HVAC unit is totally rusted out as well. So they're finding more and more things as they demolish that area, but we need to get floor joists in there, so steel is a problem, getting the steel, so that they can then put concrete there, which then has to cure for weeks before you can put flooring on top of it. So we're hoping before school would be there, at least have the cement there. We might not have the flooring there, but it's
So
a whole process.
There is talk about a great big sheet of steel that will be covering that joist that connects the old with the new, that might be there for a while. We know that, if you recall, we used our maintenance dollars to extend that rubber flooring throughout that whole upper floor. It is very possible, that's not going to happen before kids move in for certain, but it's possible that if they're willing to come in on a weekend in November, that they would take the tile off, but make the cement below passable for a couple of days, students to walk on that cleaned cement, and then maybe the next weekend or nights, evenings, whatever, Christmas break, they would come in and put the flooring down there. So it is not going to look completed for quite a while, but certainly some of the big foundational pieces are coming a lot closer. So switching that power back to full force is going to be a mini miracle. Honestly, if I hear breaker one more time, all the breakers? Yes, all the breakers. Are you sure it's all the breakers? It's all the breakers. What do you mean it's not the 14 big breakers? What? Yeah. So
So I have down the 29th, was scheduled to be our dedication.
Correct.
That's so that we're canceling that and delaying that.
That is definitely being delayed.
Okay.
I would like
Yeah.
us to be in the space before we set
Okay.
another date. So whether it was supposed to be around a volleyball game at the high school, it might be basketball, we'll hope it's not track. How about that?
All right. Well,
And I'm sorry, one more
No.
thing. I just really wanna share some appreciation for Jill and Kent Weinman, the number of hours that they have spent and the constantly on call. When there's crews over there all weekend cleaning, they have 8,000 questions. And so honestly, the amount of time and effort and energy by so many people, just to be clear, so many people, but I feel like sometimes the people behind the scenes are missed. Obviously, we all see the 4th Street staff and the incredible work that they've had to do with their moving spaces and making the best out of the situation, and they know that they still have this other work in front of them yet. I'm not discounting any of that, but I also just want to say that the amount of conversations with insurance companies and warranties and Kent and his ability to be on the phone with one person and answering 5 other questions to others is really nothing short of amazing. The summer crew is always incredibly busy. This year was amplified by 500 and the guy doesn't miss a beat. And so I just wanted to publicly share some appreciation for both of them.
Good job, Jill.
I mean, at least there's progress out there, right?
There sure is.
Yep.
When I see that gas thing move, that's gonna be a big celebration, so.
All right. Completes the Series 9 series. Meeting minutes, we have August 15th and 29th. They just must not have been ready by August 29th. I don't remember why we didn't approve the August 15th ones, but
Yeah, probably not.
otherwise, I have nothing to add to those, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries. On to 9.2 District Administrator's Report.
Just 2 things, in the midst of all of our construction, annually, we also get a bus inspection, and I just wanted to share that once again. We got a glowing review. They said any infractions that were found were immediately cleared up during that time, and so Jeff Waffle and Christy and Joey, now that transportation office, when you think of 2 people in Jeff Waffle and Christy, and then a little slice of Joey, they cover so many literal miles in territory, but so many different aspects of that work. And so that was great to get that inspection with no infractions. And then my last piece is that the joint WASB state convention is the hotel rooms book up really, really, really fast. And so Marty always tries very early to get some rooms booked. The conference itself is January 18th through January 20th. And her and I are looking for a number of board members that are planning on attending so that we can get hotel rooms so that you're not hoofing it across town.
That'd be nice.
If you know.
I plan to go.
Me too.
You're gonna try it again, Tom?
Sure.
Funny but not.
Right. Brad, you?
I have to check. I can't say for certain.
Okay. Ian?
I don't know yet.
No.
So right now I have both Mary Jo's, Tom, and Shelley to make room reservations for.
Jill,
Is unable to join us this year. She's making me go solo without her.
Okay, I'll make those. I'm struggling. I have contacted 4 of the 8 options and they all booked up. Most of them told me within 6 hours of the room blocks opening. So I am struggling getting rooms.
The Spring Hill Suites is attached onto the convention center too.
That is one that I called, yeah,
But could be at the Hilton.
or no, Hilton or Hyatt. But a lot of times they,
People cancel.
yeah, they'll have
Districts give them up.
Yeah, they get big bunches of
Yep.
rooms and then later on cancel.
Yep.
Thank you. So I'll keep trying.
It's just nice walking on the skywalk in the winter.
The skywalk's gonna be closed.
It's still closed this year
It
too.
will be yep, they had a note that it would be closed in January, so, yeah. But I
it's
know,
always nice in Milwaukee in January.
yeah, right.
Where do you think Milwaukee is?
Right by Flint, Michigan. No, I'm kidding.
Kidding. Thank you.
Yeah, that was all that I had.
Troy, I have to ask related to that, I've had a few constituents reach out to me, have you paid the district, you won't tell them?
I'm not gonna discuss it anymore during public board meetings, so you can discuss it privately later.
Well, I'll tell you that I have constituents who are wondering, so, thank you. So that covers WASB, anything to add?
Well, I did attend that expulsion hearing training, and I have that on tape. And so, but it was like an hour and 10 minutes, and they've decided to divide it into 2 sections because it's so extensive and it was kind of rushed. So Bob Butler is going to divide it into prior to the expulsion and then what actually happens at the hearings. And I think that's a really good idea because there were a lot of things that needed to be covered, but I'll ensure that. And then we did have our WASB Board of Directors meeting last weekend, and Dr. Underley and Tom McCarthy, the Executive Director of DPI, spent Friday night with us about the budget that they're proposing, which I'm sure many of you saw that.
Yeah, an email related, that was the email that came out this afternoon, right?
It
Something
could
about,
have been, yeah. I know that it'll be shared with everybody. I'd like to also put a plug in on October 27th is our regional meeting. It's to be held in Onalaska at Stony Brook, Onalaska again.
So in the past, I've taken a district vehicle and I've driven everyone down there. So if that is something you guys would like to do, I'm happy to do that again.
that's, say that again.
Thursday night, the
Thursday,
27th.
October.
So there's usually an hour of learning before dinner, then there's dinner and a program afterwards, so.
And I believe they're starting it just a little bit early this year. I think we can go on the site and get exact times on that, just because of the drive and everything. So always a good connection with all the other districts in our region.
I will be back for that, I know when you ask for the next meeting.
You will not be or will?
I will.
Will, okay.
Yeah, because that Monday is our, because you're gonna be back Sunday, you said?
Mhm.
It's a busy week. All right, any other WSB or conference? Any school board connection opportunities?
I was able to go out to District 1 building and kind of wandered around and wandered into some buildings or some rooms I wasn't supposed to be in. But
We're having a confidential meeting and also Mr. Epps is just there and we're like, not now.
what's going on here? And just talking with some of the teachers, they feel, you know, under the circumstances, they're feeling pretty good about things. At least there. I wouldn't say the same thing for over at Gebhardt, but hopefully, you know, things will get done and we can be back to normal and this can be forgotten. Just a memory. Also, I have been asked by, I don't know, somebody at the high school to broadcast the homecoming parade. So I'm feeling pretty excited about that. So it'll be live streamed and also
Like the Macy Thanksgiving Day Parade? Like
booming out through,
Exactly. Nice.
through downtown
Oh, geez.
Black River
I'm
Falls.
excited.
Yes. Where will I be located? I think near the what's a place called the Lunchbox now or something? I think it's Ben, is that where we're at?
On the hill, you're on the hill there? That's the week of,
It's a new career.
the game is 14th, right?
I'm sorry, date of homecoming.
14th.
14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You had a question about the board participating in the parade at all?
Yeah, I was just wondering if the board was interested in any kind of a float, a group of golf carts with some signs. I just wasn't sure if that was something you were interested in or not.
In the past, I do remember walking the parade and passing out our new vision statements and values and things like that to people. I don't know. I don't remember remember ever being on a float in my 14+ years.
I don't think we've ever had one. There's always a first, right?
I can always announce an imaginary one.
Well, Tom, you won't be able to do it.
I wouldn't be able to be on
And I
the
won't
phone.
be able
But he could sure say nice things about us.
I will probably have a couple helpers that day, so I'm not sure a float is.
I think it sounds like a fun idea. If I was here, I'd be up for that.
Perhaps another year then.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's in the driver on the
Right, golf carts in the Shriner, and that's exactly where I was headed. That's exactly where I was headed.
A golf cart ride.
I get in, but
Talk
not
twice
get
a
out.
I was thinking about that little worm that guy from Alma Center had. With all the little, whatever it was.
Again.
I don't know if I'm getting out of it.
All right, future agenda item identification, so we want to reconsider whatever that item number was from last month.
Or does what we did cover it once it's done?
It does not, because that is not an open roll out situation.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not an open rollout, okay.
So we would still need to revisit that one, but you want to revisit that in,
November.
I'd rather in November. I didn't realize it wasn't an open rollout.
so that situation was a private school.
Okay. I think we should just talk about it.
Yeah, get a report and revisit the conversation. I know when we first made the decision, there was a question about insurance and the safety and things like that. I'd be interested in how that went.
I had two more issues, I guess, things that we like to, under our student success, I think I just wanted to have a discussion about student support for all students that have issues that are going on in the school, because like we did with another plan, we allow student counselors to talk to parents. There's a protocol set up, and there's actually a procedure. I like to, I had some people that were interested in a little bit of that, and I'd like to give something for the board to look at for the next meeting. We don't have to make an action item on it, but just something to look at. And we can discuss it, and we don't have to make an action, like I said, but that was one of the options. And the other one I wanted to talk about was under our people would be hiring practices in our district and how we handle that, because there has been some questions about that as well. And I think that's something the board should discuss. And
Those are in policies too already.
they're in the policy, I mean, as a whole board, you discuss it as a group, whereas the policy committee, you talk about if we decide to change or something that looks like we should revert it back to the policy committee, that's what we can discuss, I think, at that point.
And what was your first one about all students?
All student support plan instead of just a certain subgroup of students. And the way that protocol, how we handle the gender support plan, about how it involves parents and how it involves counselors and how it brings everyone together to discuss student needs. Instead of having it exclusive to one group, people are more interested in looking at for all students who are feeling maybe some of the same things. Not the gender things, but I think it's something to discuss. I'm not going to discuss it tonight. I'm just deciding for the future meeting. I think it's something we can discuss.
But as the person who needs to make the agenda, that's why I was about to ask you a question.
You can say student support plan would be great, and what that involves, we don't have details. So I don't think it really requires action. Like I said, just put what does the student support plan look like if there was one to be involved implemented. And there'll be materials at that time too for everyone to review.
Will you get them to me ahead of time so they're in the board packet, or were you planning on bringing them that night?
I'll send them to you way beforehand.
Okay.
Way
That'd be
beforehand.
Anything further?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.